Welcome to Let's Start a Band podcast. I'm very, very excited for our guest today and a new co host with me. So it is an extra special episode. Nobody's telling you this, but some artists say, Josh, how do I get on BBC Introducing? Where does support come from? What does it look like? Our artist lives and breathes it. We have the incredible Miles Temp on with us. And I also want to introduce PG as well, an amazing Scottish artist in his own right. And you two have a lot of crossover, which we're going to get into. But Miles, I want you to take us back to where this absolutely began. What was your very first memory of music?
Ooh, my very first memory of music is probably from my dad, always from my dad. Me and my dad worked very closely together. And I think just him playing, he's a big six music head. I think he comes into the category of music dad. Radio was always playing, and I think it was always playing in the car. We always had dodgy CDs on in the car. Listened to the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack. Got me into the Smiths, The Cure, Sex Pistols, yeah, all the classics. Really, that's
and,
me.
and how old would you have been when you wrote your first song?
Oh, I think I started writing songs when I was about 9, but not writing my own melodies. I was stealing melodies from my cat. Like steal Christmas melodies and the catchy melodies and just changing tricks and passing them off as my
That's genius. BG, have you ever done that? Have you ever been ripping off some artist tunes?
No, no, absolutely not. Just
that
just taking inspiration and putting your spin. I think it's a great point. It's funny, but at the same time, like when it comes to songwriting and music, like all the chords, all the notes have kind of been done. So the best artists are more or less putting their own spin on a lot of the greatness from the past.
it was definitely something that I just sort of was like, I had these lyrics in my head, but not on to attach them to, and I was too lazy to sort of pick up an instrument. So I was just, I'm just gonna steal someone else's melodies. I never released them anything. They were just like me and my 9-year-old diary and stuff. I wrote this one properly, like I picked the guitar in lockdown, and I was like, because I was just bored as hell, as everyone was, and started writing on there. So 14, I'd say, proper song with a proper verse, chorus, bridge, melody, everything that was all mine.
And it's come a long way since then. I think you need that starting point when you're young, don't you? Getting you in there. But obviously you've got a you've got a debut EP coming out, headlining Liverpool, obviously home sea, which is incredible. You've done Focus Wales, Great Escape. You've had some big names coming on your stuff, Miles. I mean, John Kennedy and Jazz That's had some incredible reviews. When you look back at your journey, it's quite incredible what's been achieved over a small pace of time. Do you look back with pride, or is it always what's next? What's next? What's next?
I think I get very easily overwhelmed. I think as a person, so if a lot of things are happening at once, I'm very much like can't appreciate them in the moment. I'm very much like, oh my god, this thing and then next thing and then this thing. But then when you have those slower months where you're naturally just settling down, and through all my music, I was doing my music through my GCSEs, got my GCSEs, went continued doing music through college, got my college level 3, and now I'm working full time doing my music as well. So I've never had a moment to sort of fully dive into my music. So, me and my dad being able to achieve this in a few years, starting from when I was 14, sort of setting up on Bandcamp to fundraise for a school trip I wanted to go on. That's how it's all started for me. It's been a bit mad that I've been able to go on introducing and national radio and stuff like with John Kennedy and go down to London in his studio. You sort of don't appreciate those stuff and you look back, go, no, actually, that was pretty cool. That was kind of fun,
I mean, from myself being just a music fan and seeing that, I think it's almost like something for the music CV. Like this is the level I'm at. PG, do you agree with that as an artist yourself? Is it something that maybe you should probably reflect on a little bit more in the presence?
Yeah, like it's interesting, Miles staying just constantly busy and constantly caught up. I find as a musician, you never really get a chance to reflect. You're always constantly in the now and like looking ahead to what's coming next because you're constantly moving forward. But in the moments and like the platforms we've spoken about there, like BBC Introducing and Radio X with John Kennedy, it's that for me is great recognition, like those platforms. It's great things to have on your music CV almost, I would say. But what I would say to Miles is how did you find like going on Radio X, like in the studio down in London, etc. That sort of experience? Because for me, like that's a massive moment for any artist from that scene of music. Because I think Radio X is kind of like the home
Mm.
for it all here. With.
It was huge, to be honest. It wasn't really supposed. We weren't really asking for it. We were just like to John, he's been playing my stuff, several singings, making them, track of the week and like hot ones across there. He was dead supportive and Deb on it and always playing it, and he absolutely loved it. And we were just sort of like, we've got my headliner, which was my first ever headliner last year. We were like, if you're up, if you want to come up to Liverpool, we know you're in London, but we'd love you to come along. And he couldn't make it, but he was like, oh, but just come down to the studio. Just you come down here and do a radio thing with us. And that was the most amazing thing, but it was a stressful journey getting there because the trains decided it wasn't my day. It was like I was supposed to be live on air at like 11:30 like PM time. I don't think I've ever sang or belted that late in my life. But that was after, I had done a gig in the day. I did a boot music magazine festival that day. We jumped on the train straight down to London. It decided to stop in Runcorn and not move for about 2 hours. And they weren't telling us if it was going to move. And it was one of the most stressful experiences ever. But getting down there, actually making it, running onto the tube, getting to the studio and setting everything up and then going live straight away at 11:30. It was just everything at once. And then when you finally did it, you were just like, oh my God, I'm actually in the studio of Radio X. It's the coolest thing in the world. And I got to meet John Kennedy in person, and he was the loveliest person in the world. And hope to see him again, hopefully at some point, and maybe bump into him at a gig. Would
You know what?
make
He is the most wonderful person, and I met in the men's toilets of a gig. And I kind of know to him, I know you, and you know to me, and I went, John. He was like, hi, how are you? And we chatted about music. I was like, it's probably not the best place to be doing this right now, but he was lovely about it, nevertheless.
yeah, he's
Mars, I want to talk about BBC Introducing because that's when we met. I was doing content for the Radio 6. And it was fantastic up in Manchester and really enjoyed it. Met some great people, including yourself. And it was a great fun. BBC Shooting champion hundreds of acts, but it's very hard to get into. And once you're in there, the fact they've kept supporting you and kept doing it is quite rare. What is it how have you built this relationship? What have you done differently? What advice can you give other artists? I mean, I remember the first thing I saw of you, Miles, was Big Weekend Liverpool 2025, and you were there. And yeah, so talk to me through it.
It's a bit of a unique story, to be honest with you. But I've been uploading my stuff to BBC Introducing. So Deg is my local presenter and just an absolute legend. He's amazing. And so since I was 14, 15, he's been playing my stuff. He's been really loving it, and he's been playing it ever since. And I'm forever grateful for that. And it was, I think, last summer I went to, obviously, Radio 1's big weekend, came to Liverpool, and it was Sefton Park. And yeah, I went to go. I saw this thing on social media. It was like Radio 1 are hosting the open mic nights across Liverpool. Why don't you go and do it? And I was like, yeah, I'll put my name down. And it was literally like, you went down there, you got your name literally picked out of a hat. I went down to the Jacaranda. Your name was literally picked out of the hat. There were 20 slots upstairs, 20 slots downstairs, and there were like 150 people who would like put a name forward. And I was like, if my name gets called, I'll do it. It was a day after college and everything like that. I went and my name got called out, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And they were like, you can only perform one song. And what's my go-to song is Polaroid Picture. It's a proper, wrote it when I was 14, haven't changed the day. It keeps growing with me. I can properly belt it out. Let's do that one. That'll be fun. And I went on, and it was like a school night. It was a college night. So it was getting quite, it was like it was like 1:45, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm absolutely knackered. I have to wake up at 8 a.m. to go to college in the morning. But we were like, you've got to do it. You've got to do it. So eventually got on stage, and it was the most amazing moment because I just was able to sing it, just me and my acoustic, and it just went silent. And that was just amazing because if you ever been to the Jacaranda, it's always busy. It's always rustling. Jacaranda, it's the most amazing venue there is in Liverpool, I think. Just silent, and it was amazing, and that's what really got it for me, because I was like, oh my god, it's that. And you listen to the videos back, and the applause was just amazing. That was one of the biggest things. I was like, oh my god. And it was just an open mic, and then a few weeks passed. My dad was sort of like, oh, Dave Monks is wanting your phone number, can I give it to him? And I was like, of course you can give Dave Monks my phone. Joking, of course you can. So I sort of he let me have his number, and this was during Sound City. So Sound City was happening in May last year, and I was going to a conference around Sound City, and I was going to these BBC introducing panels that was hosted by us and Dave Monks and everyone like that, and they were chatting, and I was chatting to all of them at the day, and it was dead nice. And then I got a call from Dave Monks, and my phone was on like 15%, which was so stupid of me, and I was trying to reach for a portable charger in my pocket, holding it like that on Slater Street, uh, opposite the Jacaranda. And he was just dead chill. And he was just sort of like, yeah, we've been supporting you since you were like 14, you've been doing this, you've been playing these gigs, but we also heard you did this Radio 1 open mic. And I was like, yeah, it was cool. It was amazing. And he was sort of like, yeah, well, we'd like to open the BBC introducing stage, Radio 1's big weekend at Sefton Park. Do you want to do it? Just instant tears. I've never been so like, you just oh my god, you just overwhelmed so much. I was just on the phone and I was like, oh my god, yeah. And then I realized he was recording it live for radio, and I was like, oh my god, livid. Just sort of like bawling flies out to finding out this news. And then I told my dad, and we couldn't tell anyone for a week, and it was probably the hardest week of my life. Um, but that was the most amazing thing, and I obviously performed at Radio 1's big weekend, and it was incredible. But one of the unique sides to it is I was leaving college at the time, and I was finishing my like A levels, level 3 diploma, and I was like, I don't want to go to uni. I'm not a uni person. I love my music. If I'm gonna get a cafe job and work on my music, I'll do that. But the only thing I applied for BBC Introducing was doing these apprenticeships, and BBC Introducing was like, there's a BBC Introducing apprentice in Merseyside. And my dad was like, why don't you apply for it? It's another level 3, but just give it a go. Like, just give it a go. You're not going to want to go to uni, so just give it a go. And I got through quite a few rounds of it. And the more the rounds went on, I was like, the more I wanted it. Like, the more I was like, please, I love BBC. This is before I knew I got the festival as well. So this is running, like, if you imagine a timeline, they're running at the same time I was uploading my music and everything. And I didn't know anything about radio, and I just loved music so much. And I obviously love music so much that I was like, my whole life just needs to be around music, if it's behind the scenes or as a musician myself. And it got to the week of Radio 1 weekend. I obviously knew I was playing the festival, the maddest ever. I was still in college. I was in college the day before I was playing the festival. And then I got a call, and they said the apprenticeship to work with BBC Introducing. So in the same week, I found out that I was going to be working for BBC Introducing and playing a BBC Introducing stage and meeting all my future like co-workers, and it was an insane week. So that's quite a unique story. And obviously, going forward as an artist, there's a lot of stuff that I take pride in compliance, and sort of making sure that I don't put myself forward for opportunities that I wouldn't have put myself forward if I wasn't in this lucky position of being introducing. So it's been an incredible learning curve and journey, and I think it's something that I take pride in, sort of, thinking I'm good at it because I'm a musician. I understand what it's like to try and set up a headliner. I understand what it's like not having the money for the studio and trying to record a demo in your bedroom and make it sound good for BBC Introducing. I know what that's like. So that's been incredible. So BBC Introducing just sort of opened up all of its arms to me, and like welcomed me in. So it's quite a unique situation. I think it's the first apprentice they've had that's been a musician, openly supported by BBC Introducing. So it's
And Moz, I know how much they adore having you as well, like, and they're like hearing you and being around them and the team was just, I mean, what a week at such a young age as well to have that is, it's absolutely sensational, really. Obviously, you've got your own headline coming up. PG, you've had, headlines, both of you as artists. Is it excitement? Is it nerves? Is it Like you're mentioning them as the stresses. How are you feeling coming into a headline?
Generally about the feeling of going into a headline show, and looking at our journeys as artists, obviously listening to Miles's story, starting from playing songs almost with your dad to that open mic moment that leads to BBC introducing it, at Sefton Park. It's there's certain moments I feel where your time in music like flashes before your eyes and you remember a lot of these moments. And one of them is when you go into a headline show. So I always find there's mixed emotions, but I think Miles going into the headline show, you must be absolutely buzzing for it.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something I'm really looking forward to. I've only ever done one ever headliner in my life, which was last year, which was my first ever headliner, which was at the Jack, and that sold out, and that was just amazing to sort of see. Like even though it was, in bigger artists' eyes, you're like it's only 85 cap, it's only 85 people, but then you look at it and you're like, no, that's 85 people. Like it's sort I think in the music industry it's sort of blown up to be bigger, be better, be don't sort of don't take the small numbers for granted in a way, and I think that's just 85 people's 85 people, and they were like to me, start a mailing list, and you're like, oh, have you got 100 people yet? Your mailing list? You'd be like, no, but I've got all these people who have spent their time wanting to hear about me. I just think I've went on a rant about numbers and size, but I think that that's amazing, and I've got this headliner coming up, and we've moved up in capacity, and it's in this gorgeous venue. It's in the back of a record shop, which I just think is dead cool. Uh, and I think it's just something you're so stressed about, and you're trying to find support acts, and you're trying to sell tickets, and you're trying to do a full-time job alongside of it and everything. But on that day, it's just as long as the tech and everything goes right, it's just amazing, and it's just sort of you're there with people who want to support you. And I think I get a lot of imposter syndrome, working in the industry and performing in the industry as well. I get I shouldn't really be in this room.
I feel like as a music fan, if you're as a performer enjoying it on stage, I'm enjoying it a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And like for me, I can't imagine what you two go through when people are singing your lyrics back to you. For me, that is just an insane thing to like comprehend. Where when you two are on stage playing and people are singing back, like honestly, what is going through your head? Are you in the moment? Are you present? Are you thinking about when you wrote the song? Or where is your head at that point?
For me personally, I'm just very much like, that's a song I wrote on my bed 6 months ago. What do you mean they resonate with you? I wrote this about a very niche topic in my life. What do you mean it sort of like works for you too? I think it's beautiful. I think it's, you can write a song, and I'm sure you can feel this too, but you write a song, and you're just sort of like, this is so personal to me. And then you release it, and then people are like, no, 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 meaning I took it as this. The interpretation splits. Like I wrote it about this specific person in my life, but they've completely respan it and went, no, 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 that's about this. And I think that's just beautiful how everyone can, take things as they want.
Yeah, what do you find harder playing live in terms of like, do you find it harder to play to like a small, intimate number of people where you can see everybody's faces, or it's like a massive crowd where you can't see anybody because it's so dark? Like, what do you find like harder?
I think I'd rather be blind and not know. Like I think I'd rather just not know at all. I'd rather you just put a curtain up and me not see, perform to my very best. And if there's two people there, if there was 250, I'd rather know and not see their faces. I think I just find it dead more scary. Like I played this festival, So Long Good Friday in Liverpool, and that was brilliant. First time I played it, and what was really lovely is that there was a huge crowd, and I was able to perform, and I wasn't looking directly into someone's eyes while I was singing this really personal song. Um, so that was, yeah, I think it's much harder to perform, and it's sort of like a confidence knocker, really. I think for me personally, like if I'm playing sort of like maybe a rough gig that isn't as good as I thought it was going to be, it's very self-reflectant, going like, no, this is fine. You can push through it. It's a great gig regardless. I think that's quite hard to do.
Incredible. It's great to hear. I think a lot of musicians listening to this will be like, wow, it's a lot to take on, some golden nuggets in there. A little bit off topic, and I want to ask both of you this question. I'll start with you, Miles. For your fans that adore you, your music, love what you're all about, but maybe don't know you on a personal level, what's a topic of conversation that you could talk about for hours and not get bored of? And I'm not taking music. Neither of you can take music. It's gone. You got to give me something else.
Um, I I think films or like physical media. And I know that does music with like vinyls and CDs, but like anything physical media esque, I'm loving at the moment. So I do collect vinyls and CDs, but push the music aside. I collect like books, and I read a lot and collect DVDs. I just like having the physical media there, and I can defo like talk about that for ages and the importance of that, I think.
I guess it links into some of the writing and the stories,
Yeah,
which is quite
and
a cool thing.
it's art, anything arty.
Did you, Cello? What would you say?
My stuff would be probably football and Fred Terry, mate.
Yeah, but and Alec, come up with it.
As
Absolutely, I can absolutely relate. Amazing. Well, that's really interesting to hear. Miles, obviously EP coming out, debut EP. How exciting for anyone listening to this podcast. Go check out Miles, incredible. PG Chalo as well, phenomenal. It's been absolutely fantastic having you guys on the podcast. I feel like a lot of people have learned, people that might know you and our fans as well have learned a lot. And if they can get to a show to come see them, go and do it. Guys, anything you want to leave the podcast and say before we wrap up?
I think I'll chuck in my socials while I'm at it. Why not? Promo. I feel like, yeah, if you wanna come give me a listen, I'd really appreciate it. We're definitely going into the more experimental side of pop. I think I'm trying to go out of a box, and I've been doing it since I was 14, so every song is different. Every song I'm growing, and this debut EP really shows that, because I have a pop song, I have an experimental song, I've then got this like rock beat on a pop track, I've got this remix, I've got a cover. I think it's quite experimental and sort of shows the growth of an artist at a really young stage. And that is going to be out soon at the end of the year. And yeah, I have my headline out on the 27th of November in Liverpool, which will be amazing. And thanks, Josh, for having me on.
You are very welcome. It's been an absolute pleasure. And if I was in a band with you, Mars, I'm sure it'd be a hell of a lot of fun. So thank you for coming. Let's start a band, and we will see you next week. Thank you very much, guys.